All right, welcome back. That's Some Cheese, part of the Vendetta Sports Podcast Network. Today is Monday, May 15th, 2023. We have the second round of the NBA playoffs to talk about and then the upcoming conference finals. So, Jarrod, what's going on?
Mate, we're at the pointy end now.
Mm-hmm.
It is, to coin a phrase, all to play for. We've sorted the wheat from the chaff and any other cliches you want to throw out there for this time of the season.
Well, some are calling it the year of trade. There's an outside chance that my NBA and NHL team win in the same year. They're both still remaining.
There is. There actually is. I mean, the more I look at it, for those who aren't aware, Trey's a Boston fan when it comes to everything except hockey.
And football.
Sorry?
And football.
I thought you were a Pats fan.
No.
Who do you go for in the...
So I technically don't have a team anymore. I was a Ravens fan.
Oh, okay. I was going to say the Oilers. Okay, fair enough. No, I mean, look, this is 1 year where it's actually turned out all right to not be a Boston fan in hockey.
Yeah.
They've done a full 2016 Warriors.
They basically pulled the Tampa Bay Lightning the year they had the most points and then lost in the first round.
Yeah, forgot about that one, actually. Well, look, I mean, Rangers went down in the first round, so fuck hockey. Stupid sport.
Okay. Well, we're here to talk about basketball anyway, so.
We are.
Yeah.
If the Rangers are in, I mean, we do an hour pod on just how much I'm going to have more children and call them all Mika. But, that's not going to happen now. Basketball, okay. Yes, basketball.
All right, I figure we'll start east, work our way west. The series that happened, we'll talk about them. The conference finals, we'll preview them. How about, since it just happened, Mother's Day, Celtics, 76ers, let's just talk about it, get it out of the way. I have a bunch of things on this. I don't know where you want to start with it. And I'm not even normally a tactical guy. I feel like you're a tactical guy, but I have some stuff that I want to talk about in this one.
Go for it. When it's Boston, it's your show. You go for it.
Number one, why did it take Joe Mazzulla 6 games to figure out that Robert Williams needs to play more than 18 minutes a night?
Yeah, look, I don't know whether there's still lingering injuries or whether it's just the fact that Mazzulla...
This is the time to unleash him. This is the time.
Yeah, no, you would absolutely think so, especially because you can match his minutes if he starts with PJ Tucker. And the whole idea of having Rob Williams on the floor is to put him on a weak shooter and let him be a roaming deterrent. That's what the Warriors did years ago with Bogut and Tony Allen. If you've got PJ Tucker out there, and you have to start PJ because he just keeps everything else under control for Phil, the emotions under control, that's the perfect time to play Williams because Tucker is... he's an okay shooter, but he's a reluctant shooter, which is the most important thing to allow him to roam. When he was coming off the bench, you saw Doc in one of the rare times that Doc Rivers actually outsmarts someone in a playoff game. He would instantly, call it as it is, he would instantly pull PJ and he'd throw out, Niang or he'd go small with a 3-guard lineup with Melton or something like that. As soon as Williams came into the game, that was what was happening. As soon as you start Williams, Doc is so dogmatic that he doesn't want to change that starting 5, and that played right into Boston's hands. I think it's purely that Mazzulla just perimeter defense. I think he's very high on his perimeter defense, and starting Smart and White, you've got pretty much the best defensive backcourt in the world, and I think he liked that.
But not only that.
Actually, the point I've just thought of too, Horford plays Embiid so well. Probably plays.
That's what I wanted to talk about.
So it might just be a case of you don't necessarily need that extra backline defender because you trust Horford one-on-one.
But I thought Horford played much better when Williams was on the floor with him compared to without him. Because when it was just him and Embiid, there were times Embiid would just cook him early in the series. But when Williams would come to help, it was a different ball game.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, you put two prime, defensive stud big men on the floor. It's always
Yeah,
going to help when you're guarding a 7'2"
because
MVP.
everything that I saw, I mean, they're still going over screens. They're still going over
Mm,
screens on that.
mm,
And
yeah.
once Williams is backpedaling, or once Horford is backpedaling, they were screwed.
Horford in particular, he doesn't have that stop-go mobility that he had
Yeah.
even 5 years ago, let alone 10 years ago. So
Once they got him in the action and he kept backpedaling, I mean, they were cooking them for the first however many games of the year or the series.
I wouldn't say cooking him, but it just meant that there was no deterrent. If Embiid
None.
did get past Horford, there was nothing in the way.
Mm-mm.
As good as Brown and Tatum are defensively, they're combo forwards in the traditional sense. So they're not going to sit there and Embiid's, again, he's 7'2" and 300 pounds. He's not going to worry about those two stopping him at the basket. Once he beat Horford, he knew he was through.
And
when Williams roving off, that's when you go, okay, where's this second player coming from? And that also plays into the worst part of Embiid's game, which is his passing in quick decision-making situations.
And when Williams was on the floor, I mean, there would be times that, I mean, Horford, he's not a rebounder anymore. He can't jump. For as good as Horford did guarding Embiid, he can't jump. So there were so many offensive rebounds. When Williams was in the game, that stuff ended almost immediately.
Yeah, and ultimately, as much as Williams isn't going to shoot, he at least spaces the floor vertically. He gives you another dimension.
And he sets good
Smart's
screens.
not a great shooter. White's not a great shooter. Horford went ice cold from the perimeter in this series. So your shooting wasn't working anyway, so you may as well try something different offensively. It might just keep Embiid staying home, worried about the lob threat.
I have something on Embiid too, and I leave this stuff to you, but it felt like every time they isoed him on the left side and just let people, be little roamers and, hey, here's an outlet, here's an outlet, here's an outlet. I'm just going to take this 5-foot jumper and make it every single time. They didn't do it. Like, the option was there, available. It felt like Embiid scored on it every single time he got the ball from that little left side, and they just didn't do it.
His mid-range shot has just become automatic.
Unbelievable. He makes it every time.
It is so good now, that short-range jumper of his.
I just never understood why they didn't let him, hey, you sit right here, we'll get the ball to you, and then you, either double team's coming, you're going to pass it out, or you're just going to hit this shot where you just seem to make it every single time.
Yeah, and it's a similar argument to what we get with the Warriors. Why don't we run Steph Curry in pick and roll 60 times a game?
Yes.
You can't become predictable. That's
okay.
That's one thing. You need to make sure that everybody else gets a touch of the ball, particularly Harden.
Are we sure we wanted everyone else to get the touch of the ball late in that game?
Well, this is where the balancing act comes into it. Harden in particular can switch off a little bit. I don't know whether Maxi's wired that way. Tobias Harris works hard, but there's so many guys who. No, he does. I thought Tobias Harris had a pretty good series, to be honest. But
it wasn't what Jimmy Butler would have given you, for sure.
Well, whether he touches the ball or not, I would trust Tobias Harris to work, But I don't necessarily trust that Harden, if he's not getting his shots, will put in everything he can at the other ends. So you've got to make sure that he gets his shots. And Harden, by proxy of the way he plays, it's either going to be a step back three. These days, it's not a drive to the hoop. It's a step back three or a dish, which gets everyone else open. But this is the balancing act. It's like, okay, we have the nominal best player in basketball, at the very least this season's regular season MVP. Why not just let him go to work until he can't do it anymore? And maybe it is a fatigue thing with Embiid because he's just not conditioned. I don't know.
I just felt like if you were going to lose, I'm okay losing that way.
Yeah, you've got – I don't think you need to do it every play down the floor, but I think they could have leaned on it more.
Yes.
I really do think they could have leaned on it more. But, Missoula made his fair share of mistakes. I think he made some really good adjustments. Doc, in-game adjustments. We bag Budenholzer for it, but Doc's got a much longer record of not making these adjustments.
Yeah. How about this little? I don't know if it's a conspiracy theory, but do you think there's an outside chance that the 76ers win that game if Harden doesn't elbow Jaylen Brown? Because they were kind of asleep at the beginning of the game. And that elbow, it kind of they got those 2 flagrant foul shots. They got the ball back. They went on this like 8-0 run. The crowd got into the game. And once that kind of happened, it felt like, I don't know, it felt like the Sixers lost their chance.
Yeah, but that was like, what was the score, give or take, when that happened? I mean, that was really early in the game.
So they were up, I think. They were up by like 8 or 9 early.
Yeah, but it was really, really early. That was first quarter, wasn't it? Yeah.
So it just felt like the Celtics didn't have a jump. And then once that happened, Brown, he started getting angry. He started looking. He had that play where he looked at Niang. He's like, oh, this ain't happening. Yeah. Like, it just kind of fired him up emotionally.
I don't know. I mean, it was still a tied. Like, at one stage, it was, I think, 50-55 Boston's way. And then all of a sudden, it's like 88-56 or something like that. Yeah. So,
it felt like they got a little pissed off,
because of something that happened, 2 quarters. It was still tied essentially in the third quarter, or close enough to tied. So I don't know. It certainly got Boston awake.
Yes,
but I don't know whether it's a case of if it doesn't happen, then Philly just walk away with the game. I think that third quarter run was much more important.
Where do you go if you're the Sixers from here?
Well, speaking of where do you go, is Harden currently on a plane to Houston as we speak?
That's what I asked in the Slack yesterday. Yeah. Because Houston, they're actually, I think, the only team in the league that has like max cap space. Mm-hmm. Don't have to worry about anything. You can just come on down. We don't got to sign and trade nothing. It's just, here you go.
And they are desperate to win.
Yep.
I'm not quite sure Harden is the culture setter that you want, but
no, but at least they'll have a pecking order of who's getting the shots.
Yeah, and at least Harden's got an axe there. The best I can say for it. Yeah, look, for Philly, this is a really tough one. I honestly think Doc is done. I think Doc is done in Philly.
I have a conspiracy theory on that too.
Okay.
I think he's going to be the next Bucks coach. They already like guys that don't make in-game adjustments, and he's a Marquette guy.
There is a little WhatsApp group of NBA nerds that, all my mates over here, and someone put in that one that the only reason that the that the Bucks are sounding out Scott Brooks and Mark Jackson, where did that come from? They're sounding out Mark freaking Jackson.
I don't know.
The only reason
Mark Jackson, no Jokic on his MVP ballot.
I know. I mean, look, he straight out owned it and said, look, I just straight out lost concentration and forgot. At least he owned it, which is fair enough. We all make mistakes. But the theory that's come out of the WhatsApp group was that the Bucks are reaching for all these ridiculous candidates so that whoever they hire looks good in comparison.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, yeah, I mean, that does sort of say Doc Rivers come on down.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, look, I don't know. I get the feeling that Doc would actually be – I think Doc's strength is as a culture setter. I think Doc's excellent at that. Like, he's woeful at his in-game adjustments. He's a reasonable strategist in the macro sense, but his biggest thing is he is a culture setter. He did it with the Celtics. He did it with Orlando going back 20-odd years. He turned the Clippers from a laughingstock into a competitor. He straightened out a lot of the issues in Philly. He's just not a good playoff coach. Like when the stakes get really high, he's just not quite at that level. So I wouldn't, as much as the Bucks might go for him based on name, I would think that Doc would be better in a rebuilding situation where he can be the adult in the room. I know he won't go to Houston, but that would be an ideal situation.
Houston has a coach.
No, didn't they get rid of?
They hired your best friend Udoka.
Oh, they did too. I completely forgot about that. Yeah, so that's a really good hire. Good tactician, but also kick ass and take names culture setter.
Yeah.
Occasionally kick ass and grab ass, which is a whole different issue. But I'd forgotten about that, actually. It completely slipped my mind. Look, I don't know where Doc goes. I don't. I really hope that it's not the Bucks.
It won't be the Sixers.
Oh, no, I think he's gone. I
Yeah.
think he has to be gone. Yeah. Look, I saw a stat today, or a tweet today, that absolutely killed me, that the Sacramento 76ers have still been to a conference finals since the Sixers last made a conference finals.
Yeah, I guess they didn't go to one when they had Butler and
Yep. It was
Wow.
since the finals. It was the last time they were in the conference finals.
That's
crazy.
What do you do roster wise?
Depends on Harden. If he's gone,
you almost have to beg him to come back.
You kind of do. They are championship or bust. I mean, it opens up some money for them, but it doesn't open up as much as what you might think, because Harden took a discount this season. So
yeah, but you're going to have to pay Maxey too, so it's going to disappear.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I think you've got one more season before they pay Maxey, isn't it? Or is that this season?
But I mean, like, you can't actually use all of Harden's money because it's going to go right to Maxey.
Oh no, you would use it now before Maxey's extension kicks in. And you just deal with the luxury tax later. Because remember, Harris's deal comes off the books, I think, at the end of next season. And you would re-sign him, I think, but you would re-sign him at an appropriate amount.
I would sure hope so.
Well, and that's the thing. Harris's play has never been the issue. It's just the fact that he's a third option paid like a superstar. And that's not his fault. That's the fault of whoever offered him that damn contract. But
I think it was Colangelo, right?
Might have been.
I could be wrong.
Yeah, it might have been. Yeah. Look, if Harden goes, I mean, clearly you turn the team over to Maxey and Embiid. And I'd be interested to see how that goes, because as good as, like, Maxey at this stage of his career is a better scorer than Harden, but he is not an asshole on the playmaking of James Harden. And Embiid has won an MVP in the one season that he has had an elite setup man in Harden. So I don't know.
And it's not like he's a good defender either.
No, he's a woeful defender. But again, you replace, assuming you don't bring anyone else in, you'd put Melton into the starting lineup, and
they have to bring someone else in.
But the big thing for me is if you turn the team over to Maxey, how that affects Embiid. I just can't see him having the same season.
They need wing depth. They don't have anybody that can match the Tatum or Brown. They need somebody, some kind of wing.
That's a hard ask, though, saying, hey, can you match these two 6'8" wings that, both top three picks?
They got to have somebody. Whether
not a fair expectation. They need better wings. They've got to get the wings to match Tatum and Brown is probably not fair.
I don't care if it's
like saying, we don't have anyone that can stop Giannis. Giannis is a freak.
But I'm saying it could be Dorian Finney-Smith. They got to bring in somebody that can get real minutes out of the wing position.
And it's got to be someone who can at least hold their own shooting wise. See, Harris is a great shooter, but and again, he works hard, but he is limited defensively. Niang can shoot the eyes out of it, but like every player in the NBA has more mobility, except for maybe DeAndre Jordan.
That's their guy. That's all they have.
Yeah,
who else do they have?
Yeah. Geez, there's not much there.
None.
There's really not much there.
And I think they would have won the series if they had two guys like that could really make a difference.
So even if they're not a shooter, like someone who plays good defense, who can at least keep the ball moving, like a Ben Simmons.
I think it's we'll leave Philadelphia to rest there and we'll move on.
Now that every Philly fan is climbing up to the top of their building to jump off after hearing that Ben Simmons might be perfect for them.
New York Knicks and Miami Heat. I had the Knicks in 7, I believe, in our last show.
Yeah, I had the Heat in this one, but it was one of those ones where we both were like razor thin margins.
Yeah.
But having said that, we were both, assuming Jimmy Butler was fully healthy, I would have said Heat in less games. You would have gone Heat instead of Knicks. So we were on the right track, and Butler being, he just turns into a cyborg in the playoffs. So you could literally cut off his leg with a broadsword and he'd find a way to play 30 minutes. So ultimately Butler played and they won. So it's kind of what we expected in the macro sense, but in the micro, again, it's how they did it. Like Duncan Robinson playing big minutes.
The Struce is loose.
Yeah, they set the Struce Goose loose. I know I say it seemingly every time you and I are doing a pod together, but Eric Spoelstra is a fucking genius. He is the best coach in the league, and it's not even close.
I'm very worried about that one aspect right there for the next round.
Well, you guys were away from getting knocked out last season.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and you've got a lesser coach this time around.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I want to talk about the Knicks now.
Well, I used the term bare bottom spanking to describe the matchup between Budenholzer and again, Budenholzer had other issues going on, but the matchup between Budenholzer and Spoelstra in round one, this could be another one of those. Like it's going to come down to talent versus the strength on the bench.
Yeah. I want to talk about the Knicks though. So now that Julius Randle got all NBA and he's saying things like maybe they just wanted it more, they have to trade him, right? Like he has to be on the way out. Look,
I think this Knicks team has done about as well as they could possibly do.
Fair.
If Jalen Brunson is your best player, and whether I think Brunson's better than Randle, but I won't quibble with someone who says it's Randle then Brunson. But if one of those two, if they're your 1 and 2, and RJ Barrett is your third best player, realistically, a decent second round series is probably the best you can hope for. That's the ceiling of that team. I saw Stephen A. Smith doing his old, super melodramatic, I'm done with this team, trade it. I'm like, fuck off. This is the best that you could get from that roster. And to be honest, if Jalen Brunson, you take a replacement level point guard, and that's an 8th seed.
I agree. With the all NBA voting and the new CBA, Supermax contract, you basically have to offer it to Julius Randle. So
no, you do not have to offer it.
Well,
I would rather him walk as a Knicks. And look, Leon Rose and his group have, on the whole, been really patient with what they've done since they've come in. The only big swing they've taken is Brunson. And in retrospect, both you and I said that was probably an overpay.
Well, that's the biggest thing about this Brunson thing. I haven't heard one person say, hey, remember all the people that said he was overpaid?
Yeah. Oh, both of us have put our hands up in the past. We've said it. And we were wrong.
And I like Brunson, I think, more than even other people that said he was overpaid.
Yeah, no, I thought he was really good. But at the same time, I didn't quite see this happening. But that said, he's not on a max. And he shouldn't be. He's not a max player. And I think he's better than Randle. So Randle on a max would be an overpay. Randle on a super max would be larceny.
Well, he just made all NBA team.
I know he's eligible for it, but we just spoke about Tobias Harris. A good contract, a big contract doesn't make a big time player. And Randle is a classic example.
You got to call Minnesota and say, what can we do to swap Randle for Towns?
What do you do with Robinson then? Because we've just seen what happens when you pair Towns with a shot blocking, rebounding center who can't stretch the floor.
Probably move him and say Hartenstein's off the bench.
And look, it's a domino, and I'd rather Towns than Randle, if I'm honest. He's a bit younger as well, which helps.
And I feel like I'm not going to get those Julius Randle performances where he decides to take 8 threes and make one of them.
Every time you see Randle do one of those 35-point games where he's 5 for 9 from 3, you just shudder for the next 4 games that Knicks fans are going to have to witness, because it gives him just enough license, just enough confidence to take shots that he shouldn't.
Yep.
it's when I coach, there's some people that they put up a three. There's a guy I used to play with who, like, he used to take the worst 3-pointers, and if the first one went in, because that first one went in, and he's going to go 2 for 9, and they're all going to be hijack the offense shots.
Mm-hmm.
He's sometimes you just want someone to work their way into a game, and Randall isn't that type. If he gets his tail up, he's going to take the shots whether they're going in or not.
Some positive, though, for the Knicks. They rebound the ball really well, and the Josh Hart trade looks brilliant. So that's positive.
It really does. One thing I do want to ask with the Knicks, how much longer does Thibs have with this team? Like, has he taken them as far as – I think he's taken them as far as he can go talent-wise, but, Tom Thibodeau is famously not a long-term coach. He wears his players down physically and emotionally. How much longer can he stay? How much longer does his message get through with that group?
Well, I would even ask this. Based on the coaches that are available, why would you do it? I mean, if you have a Monty Williams on the open market, you have a Nick Nurse on the open market.
Yeah. And look, I honestly thought that Monty would have been – I thought he would have been great in Houston with all that offensive talent.
I'm still kind of hoping that
he's a good offensive coach.
I'm kind of hoping the Celtics say, hey, nice job, Joe, but we're going to pass the reins.
Yeah, look, the more Joe Mazzulla gets into this playoffs, the more I see signs that there's something really good there.
He is the youngest coach in the league.
Yeah, and again, he wasn't even supposed to be the head coach this season.
Nope.
Yeah, and he wasn't even supposed to be the coach if Ime left. It was supposed to be.
I'm not sure I want Steven Silas babysitting him, though, either. Is that the guy you want babysitting him?
Look, I really feel sorry for Steven Silas. I mean, he signed on to coach James Harden and all these stars and Eric Gordon and all these guys.
He might get a free ring because they decided he's going to babysit him the rest of the playoffs. So,
yeah, look, I'm not going to begrudge Steven Silas anything. He's just been through 2 years of hell. And it was hell that he did not sign up for. So, I'll give that man a little bit of leeway.
Okay. I have one more thing on the Knicks.
You mentioned Monty Williams a couple of times. If we can sort of break off the schedule here a bit, I would absolutely love to see the Bucks and the Suns swap coaches.
What about Monty Williams in Philadelphia? He was an assistant there. They never promoted him like they should have.
He would. I think he'd help with the offensive stuff. But just on the Milwaukee and Phoenix point, though, I look at those two coaches. Bud is a brilliant, brilliant tactician who is slow with his adjustments, particularly on the offensive end. Monty Williams, great culture setter and a borderline genius offensive coach. You look at what those two teams need. But Budenholzer can coach a defense. He can get a concept going that can make lesser players seem more than what they are. And Phoenix, God bless them, have a lot of lesser players right now. What Bud can't do is coach an offense. But if he's got Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, it doesn't matter whether he can coach an offense. He can just roll the ball out and say, you two, go get me 70. You look at the Bucks. The Bucks have got this amazing defense. They've got 3, all defense candidates, as well as a whole bunch of other guys who are, if not athletically gifted defensively, are smart defenders like a Connaughton or an Ingles. What they need is somebody who can generate offense for them. Step up Monty Williams, one of the best offensive coaches in the league. I think they swap coaches, and both of those teams will be right up the top next year and looking far, far better than they did this year. And the Bucks are the top seed.
I do have I have a lot on the Suns that I want to talk about, but I have one more point in the Knicks before we move on. Stephen A. brought this up, and I think it was one of his great points, and he really never has great points. There's an outside chance that R.J. Barrett is the best pick in that draft.
Well, I mean, that would be such a sad state of affairs if that comes to pass. But
yes,
but
it no longer feels possible.
Well, the old Danny LaRue phrase, the best ability is availability. And, we've seen every piece of clothing in Zion's wardrobe other than his Pelicans uniform over the last year and a half.
Uh-huh.
And good old Bang Bang Morant might be shooting his way out of the league. Like, I mean, I'm really glad that those 8 days that Morant spent, getting his head in the right space has worked so wonderfully well for him.
Yeah.
Fuck me. I mean,
unbelievable.
I don't even know what to say to that. I don't even know. I saw that news come out and I didn't even laugh. I'm not a Grizzlies fan. I'm not a Jar stan or anything like that. But I was just horrified for the bloke. And if I can go political here, in a country where you seem to get a mass shooting every day, that you've got a major star influencing, an inadvertent influencer over a generation of young men, young men of all different races, colors, creeds, social demographics. He's got a Nike shoe
that kids are buying.
Yeah, exactly. And he's waving freaking guns around even after he's been suspended for it. Like, what on God's green earth is this bloke doing? I don't get it. He has the world at his feet and he seems determined to fuck it up. I don't get it.
I've been saying this for the last 3 weeks and now it happened again. If I'm Jaren Jackson Jr., I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this.
I'll tell you what, maybe just get him in a room with big Stevie Adams and just let Steve just knock some sense into him.
It felt like that happened one time already, though, didn't it? Adams tried to get a hold of him. It was right after a loss. He went out to a strip club and did something.
You're right. He did. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Look, I don't know. Look, is it the people that? Yeah. Is it his entourage? Is it the people he's hanging around with?
I have no idea.
I mean, I don't want to speculate because I don't know. All I know is what I've seen on his Instagram, and it's a horrible look. It is a horrible look. And your point on Jackson is not a bad one. This is a guy who's worked his backside off to get back on the court after his injuries.
Defensive player of the year.
Well, yeah, and he's at best third option on that offense. Is he sitting there going, well, our franchise guy might be self-destructive. Mm-hmm. Do I get out before this all turns to shit?
And it's the smallest market in the NBA. It's not like I'm sitting around and I'm in the Lakers or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that means as much as what it used to.
Maybe.
Do you happen to know where Jackson's from? Like, I don't.
I don't. I know he went to Michigan.
Remember where
he went to Michigan State. I know that.
Oh, okay. Well, look, Detroit seem to be collecting every center in the league, so maybe they'll run Jarrod at the one. I don't know. Run a lineup of Wiseman and who else they got? Bagley, Duran. Just run all these.
If they get the first pick, they're going to have another center.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Wemby and Jackson in the backcourt as your 3-point shooters.
Oh, boy.
It'll be a fun experiment, if nothing else. Look, I think it's not a bad point that,
he's from New Jersey.
He's from New Jersey. Okay.
So New York, Boston, East Coast, Northeast area.
Well, I don't know. Is there we spoke about Randall before. Is there a Randall and picks for?
I'm just saying, I don't think it's impossible. He's possibly, on the move.
And even Desmond Bain, who seems to be a really straight-laced type of guy, he might not be up for this either.
I don't know how anyone can discount that based on the way NBA players want to move all the time. Hey, I don't like this. I don't like that. I mean, this would be a real gripe that these guys should have.
Yeah. And if you're Memphis, you can't trade Jar. He's right now, I won't say he's a distressed asset, but he's right on that line between injuries and his behavior off the court. You're getting quarters on the dollar if you trade Jar for another star right now. Like, let's say Minnesota said, okay, Town, we're going to trade Jackson somewhere else.
How about even like a Trae Young swap with Atlanta? You're losing that trade.
Oh, absolutely you are. Absolutely. Yeah. Dead set you are losing.
So
yeah, that's the thing. You almost have to stick with Jar and just hope that this is immaturity and that he finds his way through it and that the team doesn't disintegrate in the meantime.
okay.
So I want to keep an eye on that one because I just don't know. I know we're supposed to be talking about the teams that are still in the playoffs or the ones that just went out, but yeah, that Jar story is huge.
Yeah. That's why I wanted to bring it up. All right. Western Conference. Suns, Nuggets. I picked the Suns. I don't necessarily regret picking the Suns, but it's something I said during the time of the trade. It's kind of like I knew it was going to happen, but I hoped it would be enough. Anytime you got Booker and Durant, you feel like you got a shot. But boy, oh boy, just not including Ayton in that Durant deal. I said it at the time. I would have drew the line at Bridges. If I have to send Bridges, I'm not making the trade.
Yeah, look, it's one of those things. Though. I mean, I could see Brooklyn saying no to Ayton because they have Claxton, and if it's a case of we have to give up someone. Ultimately, Durant is our main aim. I agree. In a fantasy, fantasy basketball, or generating a roster on 2K where Bridges and Ayton would be rated similarly, you could probably get away with sending Ayton. But real life, a potential scoring win is worth more than a center. But the one thing is with Ayton, and this is he's soft as butter. His attitude seems to be, and we've said it before, he seems to be the nicest bloke. Like his teammates seem to genuinely like him as a person, but just don't like playing with him because he is soft. But even he's 24, he's soft as butter, and he's still almost posted a 2010 on the season. The potential is still off the charts.
We just need somebody to punch him in the face.
Well, I'm worried that he's going to be this generation's Joe Barry Carroll. And there's going to be so many people who sit there and go, I don't know who that is. Now, Joe Barry Carroll,
he was in the McHale trade.
He was the one that the Celtics traded and got Robert Parrish and a number 3 pick that became Kevin McHale. One of the most lopsided trades in history. Now, you hear so many people say it, even at the time, within 5 or 6 years, people would still say that Joe barely cares, which was his, derogatory nickname, that he still had more talent than anyone involved in that trade.
Well, he was the first pick in that draft, so.
Yeah, but he just could not give a crap about, applying himself as a professional. And he had a good career. He coasted through his career and still made all-star games. But I can see Ayton being... I'm worried that Ayton is going to turn into the 2020s version of Joe Barry Carroll. All the talent in the world and no application.
I don't see how it turns around.
Again, he's 24. It could. He's got a really bad relationship with Monty Williams.
In here. He don't got it. It's more so the mean streak. He doesn't have it.
I tend to agree. I really hope we're wrong. And I know I'm sort of making counterpoints here because I hope we're wrong. I really want to see Ayton do well because he's just so damn talented. That big, that agile, that athletic, beautiful touch around the hoop.
I say this.
There's no aggression.
I say the same thing about quarterbacks all the time. It's more beneficial if we have good players in the league leading franchises than it is to have shitty players. It would be awesome if Ayton was good, but
yeah, but he's got to want it, and I just don't see it. I don't see the application. I really.
And the other problem is, okay, you're going to try to move Ayton, you're going to try to move Chris Paul. You gave up all your draft picks. How are you going to get anything that resembles a good supporting cast now?
Well, after Detroit get Wemby and Jaren Jackson Jr., they can trade for Ayton as well and run a 6-man.
Okay.
Look, it's Chris Paul, because of that contract, you're going to need to attach a pick. Ayton,
you don't have any.
No, that's the problem. So you're pretty much going to have to take back longer term bad money.
Gordon Hayward. There's your guy.
I'll talk about Gordon Hayward when we talk about the next series. I've got a plan for Gordy.
It's not the Celtics.
Sorry?
It's not Phoenix?
No. I mean, he'd be great on Phoenix, but I think there's a better location for him. Yeah, Ayton, you could almost convince yourself that Ayton is still an acceptable contract just because of the potential. Because again, 18 and 10 with the little application and the little care that he seemed to display this season, if someone lights a fire under him, if a coach can get into his head in a way that Monty Williams clearly couldn't, then we could see a 25 and 12 with 2 blocks type.
Oh, he can score. There's no doubt he has the ability to put the ball.
He can rebound. He can block shots. Remember, his defense was awful, like dead set awful when he came into the league. He has improved his defense incrementally every single season. He's not, and he never will be, prime Gobert, but he is an acceptable defender. And at times he's a good defender. But if you can get the offensive gifts untapped, you've got a hell of a basketballer there. But I just don't know. I don't know who the person to light that fire is.
I don't think I can unsee Jock Landale being better than him in a series.
Yeah, look, being an Aussie, having watched Jock, I guess, grow through the Australian ranks and in college and all that, I'm a big Landale fan. I think he's if he's your third string center, he's one of the best third string centers in the league. He's a good backup. But the fact that he was starting and outperforming a 24-year-old first overall pick, that just shouldn't happen. With all due respect to Jock Landale, that should not happen.
No. I think we covered it. I honestly believe had Bridges been on this team, they win that series. Now, it would have been a nail-biter.
A combination playing Landale and Biyombo for 48 minutes, Jokic could have gone for 45, 12, and 12.
They would have needed somebody else.
Yeah. And there was no way Brooklyn was ever going to give up Claxton in that trade.
They would have needed a Kevin Love to sign with them at the buyout market.
That wouldn't have been a bad one, actually.
Yeah.
But he pretty much had his heart set on Miami, though, didn't he?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure I saw that reporting that he asked out specifically to go to Miami. So, I may be wrong, though.
All right. Next series, let's talk about it. Golden State, Lakers. Look
at how happy you are, Trey.
Well, it's kind of a mixed bag because I think for the first time in my life, I'm going to be, I don't know if it's the first complimentary of LeBron, but I'm going to save it for the next series. I don't know how much there is to say about the Warriors other than the fact that Steph Curry is amazing and the rest of the pieces really aren't.
I still think Draymond is excellent. And he even showed a little bit. He was able to punish players in the post if they tried to switch.
Can we talk about how, I think it was game 5 that they really won? The aggression. Where is that all the time? He's coming downhill. He's making passes. He's not afraid to shoot. Like, why don't we see that guy all the time?
Yeah, and I don't know whether it's a little bit of coaching as well. We said before that one of the big gripes in Steve Kerr's coaching tenure with the Warriors is that he doesn't just run Steph in 60 pick and rolls every game and say, hey, you can generate anything you want out of this. Get him and Draymond in pick and rolls every time they're on the floor. It might be a case of Draymond is instructed to keep the beautiful game moving.
Wow.
Might just be Draymond's mindset. He's an unselfish offensive player.
The guy that we saw in game 5,
he's not wired to put up 20 shots.
If we saw the guy that in game 5 all the time, he still deserves a max.
Yeah.
But we don't see that guy.
And look, I think that this Warriors side can still be a proper competitive beast built around Steph and Draymond. But you've got to ask questions about Klay Thompson. He's still arguably the best catch and shoot player in the world.
I was going to ask questions about Jordan Poole.
We could do a pod about Jordan Poole. I'll get to him. Far out. You got to ask questions about Thompson. As much as he is intrinsic to the fabric of that team, He's 32, 33. His legs, and it's not his fault, but his legs are just not what they were. He was one of the best wing defenders in the game. He is now average at best. And we see that sometimes he just doesn't have the shot. And that's what happens when your legs go. Your jump shot comes from your legs. And if you don't have that strength through your thighs, there's going to be times as you get older that you just don't have it, as a shooter. So Clay won't be worth whatever they sign him to. Is it time to look at a Clay trade, which is going to be seismic? I don't think they'll trade Draymond. The only way Draymond will leave is if Draymond chooses to leave. I don't think he'll get traded. Jordan Poole, holy hell.
That's who I want.
Yeah. Look, the Warriors kind of pulled the plug on this whole 2 timeline thing when they traded Wiseman. Kuminga has still got all the talent in the world, but just hasn't quite come on. Moody, at best, he's going to be a 4th starter for mine.
I think I feel the best about Moody out of all the young guys.
Look, Kuminga's still got so much untapped ability. The flashes are so bright with him.
I'm afraid that's all you're getting is the flashes.
Well, that's the thing. I think Moody's ceiling is here and his floor is here.
Yeah.
Kuminga's is here and here. So
yeah,
there's such a variance in what Jonathan Kuminga's career could be. Moody, at least, at the very least, based on the fact that he's a smart baller, a decent defender, and an excellent shooter, Moody will play 10 years of NBA basketball.
Yep.
He might never be anything more than an average starter, but he will play 10 years.
They need more guys like him, though.
Yeah, Kuminga could be Stromile Swift. He could be an athletic freak who just doesn't know how to play. Harold Miner, another one. But this is where we get to Gordon Hayward, because the Warriors have already given up on this 2 timeline thing, clearly. As soon as you trade Wiseman, that's gone. So what this team needs, and remember, they might lose DiVincenzo. He might have priced himself out of coming back.
That would be not good for them.
No, he is fitted hand in glove with that Warriors side. But what the Warriors need is someone who can play a couple of positions, can move the ball, can play decent defense, can shoot when they're open. Somebody who is just a really smart basketballer. Now, who says no?
I'd have to look at the tax implications on this hypothetical. But
well, this is the thing. I'm wondering who says no if you say Poole and Moody for Hayward and something.
I think I'd rather do Poole and Kuminga.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. If you've got Moody, though, he gets buried if you've got Hayward there, except for, the 50 games that Hayward misses every year.
That's going to happen.
Yeah. So, Kuminga at least gives them something different. Because remember, you got Gary Payton Jr. there, and you've got all these other guards. Guards are easy to pick up. So I think you need to give Kuminga more time to flourish. But
so we think Gordon Hayward's getting traded, it sounds like.
Well, what's the point of him being in Charlotte?
I don't know.
I mean, unless he really likes it there. Remember, he signed an offer sheet with him when he was still with Utah. So he might just really like North Carolina, for all I know. But I could just see Hayward being the perfect addition for the Warriors. And Charlotte needs young players with upside. And Jordan's just silly enough to buy the hype on Jordan Poole, I think.
Well, it sounds like he wants to sell the team.
Yeah, but that's if he can find a buyer too.
Yeah.
Remember, this is a site. We've already had an owner try to move the Hornets and end up having to sell them. So, it's I don't know. I just think Hayward would be. I think he would be an excellent veteran fit on that team. He's not nearly the defender that Iguodala is, but I think he could have a similar type of impact to what Iggy did as that do everything 6th man for them.
All right, welcome back. Make sure to follow Jarrod. That is hey_it's_JP on Twitter. Myself, Trey Daubert. Make sure to follow the site, Vendetta Sports Media. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Do all that stuff. We're going to start with the previews here now. Eastern Conference, Celtics, Heat. It feels like we see them all the time.
Yeah.
Do you have any initial takeaways? Anything on your mind that jumps out right away, other than the enormous coaching disparity?
Well, look, that is a huge issue. Spoelstra is so far ahead of Missoula, it's not funny.
Yeah.
But my biggest question is for you, given Miami were a jump shot away from going to the finals last season, how concerned are you? Because you don't have Udoka on the bench this time.
No, they don't. I'll say I think I'm less nervous about this series than I was about Philadelphia. I just feel like Philadelphia's a better basketball team, and there was a scenario out there where Embiid took over. They don't have a natural answer to guard him or match him. They don't have the greatest size in the world. At least with this, I don't think Bam's going to kill you. Any 30-point performances, we just haven't really seen that. So, other than Jimmy Butler, what do they have? It's just 4 undrafted guys.
I reckon Bam is good, like for one game where Spoelstra just says, "Hey, you need to shoot the ball," and he'll go for high 20s. But there'll be so many other times where he'll get 13 points, but he'll do it off 5 of 7 shooting, and you go make that 10 of 14.
Yeah.
Even if you make it 8 of 14, it draws defense, makes the defense accountable for you. So
just offensively, they need another punch, Miami. They need something to where, hey, it's not just Jimmy and a bunch of 3-point attempts.
Yeah. And look, it's, they do play the math, to a large extent.
Yeah.
Where, and when you play the maths with the 3, when it works, it's great. And when it doesn't, it looks horrible. But, the Spoelstra just seems to pull the right rein all the time, whether it's giving more minutes to Strus, whether it's letting Caleb Martin shut down the right player, whether it's, digging up the earthly remains of Duncan Robinson and reanimating him again. Even Kyle Lowry, he's picked the right moments to let Kyle Lowry go. And when he doesn't have it, he pulls him right out, And Lowry can't bring it every night anymore. He's as old as the hills. But I don't know. I think it's going to be a tight series because Boston are top to bottom the better team.
They should be.
On paper. But, I had it said to me years ago when I started coaching that a good coach will only add 5 to 10% to a team, but a bad coach can take away 30%. And not saying Missoula's a bad coach, but he does take away a little bit in comparison to Udoka. And Spoelstra adds every little incremental bit. He works the margins beautifully.
Yeah.
Butler just seems to, again, on paper, Tatum and or Brown should be able to stop Jimmy Butler, especially when you can throw Smart or White on there as supplementary options. But it just doesn't seem to matter when Butler plays.
Just stay on the floor. Just stay on the floor. Just stay on the floor.
Oh, yes. Yep. I'm a 44-year-old man who wasn't athletic 25 years ago. My game right now in my old man runarounds is all up fakes, head fakes. It's all bullshit foul drawing. And I look at Jimmy Butler and a tear runs down my cheek. I'm so happy to see that the stuff I do still works on an NBA court.
We're still talking about a Miami Heat team where their point differential this year was negative 0.3 on the season. But
they had the worst offense in the league, and it wasn't even close. They were cut adrift from the rest of the league on offense. But again, that's regular season Jimmy.
I guess.
I don't know what it is, but he just, as soon as the playoffs, he finds a gear.
There's still a little bit of a shock in me. Like, Milwaukee's really not here, huh?
Okay. Yeah. Yep.
I think I've thought about that at least every 15 minutes. Hey, Milwaukee's not here. That actually happened.
But it's not only that they're not there. They're not there to a team that lost their first playing game.
Yeah.
And we're down. I think they were down early in the fourth in their second playing game. This was a side that was 10 minutes away from not being in the playoffs.
The Bulls had them.
The Bulls in the playoffs. I can guarantee that Milwaukee would have ran riot with the Bulls.
The Bulls had them.
Yeah, they did. They absolutely did. But again, playoff Jimmy, playoff spot, even playoff Bam. As much as he doesn't just take over the offense as much as anyone would like, he's still a brilliant distributor. He's still one of the best half a dozen defensive players in the NBA.
Is Grant Williams still going to be in the doghouse, or is he going to get minutes this series? Because I don't think it's sustainable where you're going to run a 7-man rotation the rest of the way.
I am not sure. I don't think you can run two bigs in this series because Miami will run shooters everywhere.
Yep.
And I just don't know who Williams leaves. There's no PJ Tucker that he can leave in this series.
Not really.
I just don't see where that player comes from in this series. There's no John Cole that can leave.
It would have to be when Lowry's out there. You hope he misses.
Yeah, but Lowry's smart enough to, as much as Lowry is a point guard, and traditionally you saw him with the ball in his hands, he's an excellent cutter.
Yeah.
And Miami Bam could just feed Lowry all down back cuts if Williams. Yeah, and Williams is, let's say he's not the greatest at knowing where his man is when he does run.
Oh, he doesn't give a single flying fuck. He just wants to block everything. It doesn't matter who gets by him. If there's a shot attempt coming and he wants to block, that's all he does.
And Miami are too smart for that. So I could see Williams going back to 15 minutes a game in this series.
That's too little.
No, but that'll be exclusively the minutes that Horford rests.
Yeah.
Let's call it 13 and say Horford plays 35. But I can see him being a genuine backup 5 and nothing more in this series.
Just needs more than 18 minutes a night. Can we find a happy medium?
I don't know. I don't think you can play the two bigs. I honestly don't think it'll work.
It'll depend who's
out there, especially if Horford gets hot, or Smart and White get somewhat lukewarm, then you might be able to get away with it. But I just think you lose too much shooting. And Miami are just too clever between their smart, cerebral players and Spoelstra being able to design, concept after concept to take advantage of mismatches. I just think that Williams could get played off the floor.
I guess my stance on it is let's just get Grant Williams a couple more minutes. Let's make sure he's involved in this series.
That's the guy who needs to play.
Yes.
Wait, did you say Grant Williams at the start or Rob Williams?
Grant Williams needs to play.
Oh, I've been talking about Rob Williams this whole time.
I'm saying.
My bad. No, Grant Williams needs to play.
Yes, Grant Williams needs to play.
Yeah, I'm talking about Rob Williams, and I don't think there's room for Rob Williams, but
Rob Williams still needs to play too.
Yeah, but I don't think he's going to play that much. I don't see how they can play the two-center lineup against Miami. I just don't think it'll work. But no, Grant Williams absolutely needs to play. This is the sort of series that he is tailor-made for. He can just go out there for 20, 25 minutes and just annoy the crap out of Jimmy Butler, which leaves Tatum and Brown to do their thing, leaves White and Smart to hound the guards. And, he doesn't have to hit threes. As long as he saves the other side of the defense, if he hits 1 or 2, it's gravy.
Yeah, it'd be nice. I have that note in my head, like Missoula, please. I understand that Grant Williams sat this last series. Let's make sure he's back out there. Yeah.
See, if it was Spoelstra on the Celtics bench, you just know that Grant Williams is playing 25 to 30 minutes a game in this series.
Yep.
And that's to me, tells me how much he should play. You know that Spoelstra will play him. He'll find a role for him and he'll make it work. I said before that Missoula, every time I've seen a Celtics game, he seems to grow a little more as a coach. This will be a bit of a litmus test of that. Not just on Grant Williams and how much he plays him in the rotation, but just how he adapts to the waves of different changes and different looks that Spoelstra is going to throw at him.
Realistically, they should pummel them.
On paper, yes. If this was a 2K game, this would be over in 5.
They should pummel them.
Yeah, absolutely. When your best player isn't as good as the top 2 on the other team and can't shoot threes, this shouldn't be a series. But this is why an 8th seed who almost went out in the play-in is in the conference finals, and we're not just laughing it off as a nice story because you cannot discount the Miami Heat. Hashtag Heat culture. That other bollocks.
The Bucks are not here.
Yep. And
What's
there's no bing bong in the garden either. So
need a prediction.
No, I'm not going to do it. I was so tempted to say Miami. I'm going to go Boston in 7.
You're going to put me through another 7-game series.
I honestly think we're going to get something close to a repeat of last year's series. And if we do, I mean, it's going to be hell for you as a Boston fan. I have no skin in the game in this one. It's going to be great for me to watch it as a neutral.
I'm going to put some faith in the guys and say Celtics in 5. Let's prove they're a real title contender. They should mop the floor with these guys and get ready for the Lakers in the finals.
I just think Butler's healthy again, and that's gonna win 2 games on its own.
Okay, I can't handle another 7-gamer.
No, I mean, for those who are fairly new to That's Some Cheese and to Vendetta in general, Trey had shoulder-length hair before last year's Western Conference Finals. It all fell out through the stress of that 7-game series.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Telling you, he looked like a bassist in a Swedish metal band. It was glorious.
Anything else to add on this one?
I just hope everyone stays healthy because this could be like usually when you talk about when I call games, when I broadcast games, you talk about a rock fight as being
how about that one?
It's almost like a derogatory term, but you're trying
they
to
they don't even have Tyler Hero.
Well, exactly. Yes, that's right. I'd actually forgotten about him. in this series, a rock fight is actually like perfectly fun. This is a genuine styles makes fights series. Boston want to spread it out, shoot threes, and rely on this speed of offense. Yes, Miami want to shoot threes, but they are a team to hang their hat on their defense more than their offense. So this is going to be a really fascinating series.
That's going to be a huge part. The Celtics have to get out and run. Get out in transition. Get the easy baskets. No sitting on your ass. Like, go.
Yep, it's a thin rotation that Miami has. Wear them down. Wear down Kyle Lowry. Wear down Jimmy Butler.
Yeah. I think you're going to have a different take on this one, though, than me. Nuggets, Lakers. It all comes down to this, really. I mean, I said at the trade deadline, 0% chance the Nuggets make the finals, and mostly because I just felt like the Lakers were a better team. Well, here we are. They're meeting. They could have met in the first round, but the Timberwolves decided they weren't going to make a shot in the last 5 minutes of the play-in game. So
yes. No, I still think this is Denver's series.
Okay.
Yeah, no, but look, I tell you, this is not a genuine 1-7 or 1-8 series.
No, it is not.
I mean, this is a top 4 in the conference side.
Mm-hmm.
This version of the Lakers. I still just think that Jokic can do like Davis can shut down Jokic in a one-on-one situation, or at least slow him down. But I don't trust the off-ball defense of the Lakers against Jokic's playmaking. I still think he'll be able to pick them apart in sets rather than just going one-on-one. I don't think he's going to have a game like that 53.90 against Phoenix, but I think there's going to be a lot of games where he has 27, 14, and 12.
I'm taking the Lakers. However they get it done. I think the biggest thing, Davis is playing well.
Yes.
We don't have street clothes version of Davis. Like, he's legitimately, I think you can make the argument. Maybe this is going to sound crazy. I think you can make the argument he's like in the running for best player in the league.
Look, when he's healthy, he's a top 7 or 8 guy.
Yeah.
But he's just never healthy. And this is the other thing too. As much as Davis is playing well, he's playing superbly on defense. His offense still comes and goes. And
that's
Jokic,
what the Nuggets don't have, though. What the Nuggets don't have, they don't have a rim protector like him.
But I'm not necessarily sure that that's as important as it is against other teams. LeBron is not going to the basket the way that we expect LeBron to. Davis, you can lay back off Davis knowing that you want him to shoot the ball rather than take it to the cup, which means he has less of a driving lane, less of an advantage on the defender. Now, D'Lo is a straight-out shooter. He's not going to finish it. He's not even going to venture into the paint.
In fairness, though, he's basically
play. It's the same. The one who could swing it is Reeves.
Yes.
Which is just sounds absurd to say even now. But Austin Reeves is the guy who can score from the outside, who can play make, who can get into the key and finish. And he's really good on those little 10-foot pull-ups and floaters. So he's the guy that Jokic doesn't like to get into drop coverage. He prefers to play at the level. I think particularly in Davis pick and rolls, we could see Jokic abandon playing at the level and drop back simply so that Davis doesn't get a run at the hoop and feels like he's obliged to take jump shots. But if the person running those pick and rolls is D'Lo or Reeves, it does become a pick your poison. Do you let D'Lo step into off the dribble threes where he's awesome, and do you let Reeves step into the mid range where he's a good playmaker and finisher?
I teased this a little bit earlier in the show, but I think it's time. Like, I have to give LeBron some credit in this one. Like, I know people are actually giving him some shit, like, oh, I want to see you take over in games more. I love this version of LeBron.
Do you think he's got a future, this LeBron kid? Do you think he's going to turn into something?
No, I'm saying like with the Nuggets, everything goes through Jokic. Even if he doesn't get the assist on the play, the entire action runs through him.
If there were hockey assists in basketball, Jokic would average 20 assists a game.
Yes. But with LeBron, it's no longer. I mean, when he played the Warriors, however many years ago, it was LeBron has the ball. You guys stand in the corner. I'm going to try to go downhill, try to attract a double team. I'm going to pass it out. If nobody comes, I'm going up to the hoop. This is the best team version of LeBron I think I've ever seen. He's not commanding the ball. It's not like he's the high usage guy. He picks and chooses his battles. He lets Davis be the guy. He lets Reeves get his shots, and he just does all the little things. He'll make a cut. Oh, here's a nice point. He gets his rebounds. He's got to be hot from the outside. His 3-point shots might make or break everything, but he's really picking and choosing his spots well. And I don't feel like he's like everything comes down to him. I don't. He's a nice. No. This is the best complimentary version of LeBron we've ever seen.
It is, but that's because he has to pick and choose his spots because of his heel injury.
Yes.
Or foot injury. I thought it was a heel injury. It might just be something else in the foot. But the issue is if LeBron isn't healthy, then what happens? Because this is the Western Conference Finals now. This is Final Four stuff. And if they make it, we're going into the Final Two. What happens if when the Lakers need someone to get, 3 baskets on 4 possessions in the last 2 minutes of a game, 3 minutes of a game?
I think he can still do it.
He's going to go to. If he's not healthy, is he equipped to do that?
I think he can still do it.
But if he does get healthy and he becomes this singular force again, he's going to have a lot of pent-up frustration in not being able to do this for 2 months. Does he start to, I won't say hijack the offense, but does too much move back into LeBron's realm at the expense of Russell and Reeves and whatever bench player happens to be hot that night, Hachimura?
I loved everything I saw from LeBron. This is like I don't know, maybe I'm being crazy. This is the first time he's not dribbling the ball up the court every single time. He's really like a piece, and it's not like 4 guys standing in the corner.
But it's the first time since he was probably 12 years old that he hasn't been expected to be the be-all and end-all of an offense. So that's why we haven't seen it before.
It's great.
Yeah.
What's wrong with this? It's wonderful.
Again, but the whole point of this is where, this is the beauty of Steph or the beauty of Jokic, the beauty of Isaiah Thomas going back 35 years ago, was that they could be the guy. But then when the time comes, put the ball in their hand and let him go to work. If LeBron's not healthy, then I question whether he can do that consistently still. Forget the fact that he's 38, because age is clearly nothing to this guy.
Yeah.
But it's purely the health. If he's not healthy, then Aaron Gordon, if there's a defender in the league tailor-made for LeBron James, it's Aaron Gordon.
My biggest point where I feel good about this series is like we saw this with the Suns, where Booker had to be a hero, Durant had to be a hero, and they ran out of gas.
Yeah,
I don't feel like LeBron has to do that. Like
he doesn't. But again, he doesn't. I don't think he can be Booker or Durant in this physical state. And again, he doesn't have to be because Austin Reeves and D'Lo and Beasley and Hachimura
is good.
He is. You and I have been on. I think you and I are the only two people left on Hachi Island, but we've always been Hachi Mama fans,
Yes.
us too. But literally every one of those players is better than Josh Okogie.
Yes.
Every single player I mentioned there. That's like 5-6 players I mentioned that are better than the Suns' 5th starter.
Mm-hmm.
4th starter, really, once Chris Paul went down. So LeBron doesn't have to be that guy because of the depth, but there will be a time when he will need to be that guy. And if he's injured, if he's playing on an injury that doesn't allow him to be that guy, that's where I wonder where the Lakers will go. Because Davis, unless his jump shot's falling, which is a very, very, very spotty proposition, where does the clutch offense come from in the stakes that they're at?
I feel like if the NBA has taught us anything over the last 20 years, it's the fact that LeBron's in the conference finals, and usually more times than not, he goes to the finals.
Yes. And that is where that is the thing that gives me trepidation in saying that the Nuggets will win this series.
We've seen teams like this all the time. Like when he beat the Hawks in the conference finals, like they didn't have a star like Jokic, but that Hawks team, they were a 60-win team.
Yeah, but again, they were a 60-win team based on depth and really, really good regular season coaching from Budenholzer.
Yeah.
And again, a guy, as we mentioned ad nauseum, can't make adjustments. Michael Malone is a far better coach than Budenholzer. And to be honest, I think he's a far better coach than rookie Darvin Ham as well.
You know what the series might come down to? It might come down to a shootout between Russell and Porter.
Well, this is something I did want to touch on. That this will come down to the supporting cast as much as anything. KCP got really hot in that Denver series. Porter had his moments. Aaron Gordon was brilliant in game 1. Can those guys bring it every night, or is it going to be this cast of thousands that Pelinka has assembled over the past?
He saved their season.
Month or so.
He saved their season, Pelinka.
Oh, he did. I mean, look, I don't want to give a guy too much credit for pulling the season out of the shit when he was the one who put it in there in the first place. But he did.
Are you sure LeBron didn't put him in the shit?
Well, no. Well,
hey, make the Westbrook trade. You won't regret it.
Yeah, we don't know how much say LeBron's had. You've got to assume he's had a fair bit there. But even moves around the perimeter weren't great, But Pelinka has done a really good job mid-season in rescuing this.
We're going to get a Jarrod Vanderbilt revenge series. The Nuggets drafted him. The Nuggets gave up on him. He's here. He's ready to go.
I kind of forgot that he and Beasley were former Nuggets. God, I'd actually forgotten about that. It seems ages ago. It was probably only 4 years ago.
Yeah.
God, it's not long. It feels like a lot longer than that.
Revenge time.
Yeah, and look, I'll tell you what, Beasley just hasn't worked as a Laker.
No.
He'll go somewhere else, and he will be 5 times the player he has been as a Laker. He was good in Utah. He was good in Minnesota. He was really emerging well in Denver. I still think he's one of the best movement shooters in the game. But, he shoots a really good percentage given the incredible, the difficulty of the shots that he takes. But, my God, it really just hasn't worked in purple and gold for Beasley.
It hasn't, but I think the Lakers have enough here to get it done.
Yeah, look, I'm going to go Denver, but I think it's going to be a tight one. If LeBron isn't healthy, if Davis has one of those little, there was a slight breeze that came through an open door in the arena and now I'm out for 3 weeks, then this series is done. I am going to tip Denver, but I'm tipping Denver with more confidence than I'm tipping the Celtics, put it that way.
Which version of Jamal Murray are we getting?
The one who shoots a shit ton of shots. I don't know whether they're going to go in, but he's going to shoot a lot. So
figured I would ask.
Schroeder's pretty good at following him around screens and all that sort of thing. But if there does happen to be a switch, Jokic is not even going to know that Schroeder's there. Darvin Ham has to do whatever he can to hide, Russell and Walker and all these guys that come off the bench from that Murray-Jokic dance. They will get roasted, like dead set barbecue chicken.
One more thing I got. How about Thomas Bryant? 0 playoff minutes. They made that trade with the Lakers at the deadline. They gave up 3 second-round picks for him.
We said it in our first-round preview pod that was just a stupid trade. Bryant's a good player, but he has absolutely no place on a court with Jokic.
None.
They get in each other's way. Neither of them really protect the rim.
And he's not playing the backup 5 minutes either.
No.
So.
And again, your playoff rotation's tight, and Aaron Gordon is perfectly fine as a small ball 5. So
that's what they've been. That's what they've been doing in the non-Jokic minutes.
Yeah, exactly. And you want to keep your best players on the floor as much as possible. Bryant's fine. He's a decent basketballer, but at NBA level. But he's just he really only has a purpose in Denver if Jokic is injured. If Jokic is not suiting up.
And then your season's over anyway.
Well, exactly. Yeah. 10 minutes until the inevitable happens if Jokic gets injured. So it's. I didn't understand the trade at the time. I thought they gave up way too much for him.
Yeah.
Way too much for him. I'm going to go Denver, but I tactically this is going to be a really fascinating matchup because both teams have strengths that count, defensive strengths that counter the other's offensive strengths. I think it's going to be a really fascinating series.
I'm sticking with my take that I had at the trade deadline. The season ended. The Lakers made the finals the day the trade deadline happened. We're going to stick to it. So,
all right. So you're going Boston. Oh, you're going the old '80s Boston Lakers, Magic Bird.
Yep. And I will be full ball anxiety for the entire week.
I don't think you will ever have wanted to win a series so much in your life. To lose a title to LeBron.
That'd be horrible.
Well, I'm gonna go Denver. I still, especially with the Bucks. I had the Bucks as my championship favorite pretty much all year.
If you had to pick a favorite right now, since you picked Milwaukee, who would you pick?
I would simply take Denver.
Really?
I think ultimately Jokic is the best player left standing. And in a sport like basketball, the best player generally comes out on top.
Okay. All right. I still think Denver's missing 2 guys. But we'll see.
Well, one of them isn't Bones Highland. He hasn't been missed at all.
Yeah. He didn't last very long there.
No. Talked his way out of town. He had a good thing going. Talked his way out of it. Too immature.
And how about the other trade deadline pickup the Nuggets had? Reggie Jackson. Nowhere to be found.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Jackson had that red-hot playoff, and that's pretty much been the highlight of his career. Literally every other stop he's had, Thunder, Pistons, everywhere he has been an inefficient gunner who doesn't play defense. Now that he's 31, 32, it's no longer potential. We're well past the potential train with him. This is just what he is. And if he's ready, you can roll with him, but you give him 5 minutes to see whether he's got it, and if he doesn't, you drag him and rivet him to the bench.
For me, it all kind of depends on how you feel about Michael Porter Jr. I just feel like they need a better third guy than him to really get the job done.
Yeah, so he's another one that, because of his body, he's just never had a clear run at it. But before he hurt his back, he was always a big game player. So he could be the swing guy in this series.
He's going to have to be.
If you're talking X factors in this series, Porter Jr. is clearly the one for Denver because he could go for 12 points a game. He could go for 24 points a game.
If I'm wrong, it's going to be because of him.
Yeah. Well, everybody else, you pretty much know what you're going to get. The other side, I would say it's LeBron who is the X factor because we just don't know what his body is going to let him do. If he's healthy, then suddenly the offensive fulcrum is back. But if he's
We'll find a
not,
way.
yeah, look, he'll be effective. He will be effective because the man's a basketball genius. He will find a way to be effective, no matter what his body is telling him.
Outside of trading for Westbrook, let's not give him credit.
Yeah, but that's his basketball brain,
Yeah.
not his sorry, his GM brain. His GM brain is.
Yeah.
There's been plenty of good players who made bad GMs. We mentioned Isaiah Thomas before, but if LeBron can find 90% health, then that might swing it. But if he's still at 80%, 70%, I just think that when it gets to squeaky bum time, I just don't think that the
Might be a good place to wrap up.
the world's selling us now. It's time to finish the call.
Okay. That's Jarrod. He's taking the Nuggets. He's also he almost took the Heat, but he's taking the Celtics. I'm taking the Celtics and the Lakers. Make sure to follow Jarrod. That is Hey_it's_JP, myself, Trey Daubert. Thank you guys for watching, listening. We'll have some clips up too. Until next time, we'll see you soon.
Less trucks next time.
Yeah, please.